people of Reddit, what is the worst thing a therapist, psychiatrist, or mental health professional has ever said to you? NSFW. Nothing. She fell asleep in her chair while writing notes. I was talking about the death of my parents. I was 16. Never went to another therapist. My therapist, which I just discontinued, would literally order a meal and eat it right in front of me while literally saying nothing. She did that for the entire year one wasted with her, just watching this lady eat her food while saying nothing, only to then give me snarky and two-word replies. I want my year back lol. My condolences on your parents. I truly hope you're doing better after that shitty experience. If she was that tired, she should have taken the day off. My only option recently was phone therapy, and it was so upsetting to hear her rustling around and eating her lunch while I was trying to have a discussion about a difficult situation. No wonder I went off the rails by saying the same things over and over again and never got anywhere. I had a psychiatrist who was convinced I was anorexic even though I wasn't. It really sucked because my therapist and my psychiatrist worked at the same company and they had a policy where they don't help people with eating disorders. So even though I went to a specialist and they confirmed I didn't have an eating disorder, I was still banned from that facility and lost my long-term therapist. Why? Therapists can be specialists or avoid disorders they have trouble addressing or treating. This is not inherently a bad thing. Think of it like specialist physicians. Would you want a brain specialist doing your heart surgery? This is a general statement about mental health care professionals. In this person's case, they dealt with a shitty business with shitty communication practices. 14. Telling my shrink about how I was bullied in school. Do they make fun of your nose? No. And that's how I found out I have a big nose. When I was about 8 or 9 years old, I went to see a counselor who was supposed to help me deal with being repeatedly molested when I was younger. The bitch kept asking me, but didn't it feel good? It felt good, right? Just admit it felt good, etc. until I was a sobbing mess. When I told my mum, she refused to take me back, thankfully. Holy wow, I didn't expect to get so many responses, and I'm trying to read them all. Thank you all for your encouraging sentiments and kind words. To answer a couple of questions, I am female and the therapist was also female, which made it all the more difficult to deal with, coming from a woman. It was over 30 years ago, and yes, I did eventually find a great therapist who helped me deal with things. I am in a wonderful place in my life now with an amazing husband who is always there for me, no matter what, and is a great comfort on my occasional bad days. Never pushing and always willing to listen. He is a truly beautiful and kind soul. 3. I know I am one of the lucky ones among survivors of assault, being able to trust again. And I'm thankful there are so many kind people like all of you. Lots of love to you all. Smile. 3. Geez, mine did that too. Wow, 2 hours straight and you didn't orgasm. Surely it felt good. Just admit it, it's only natural. Mom, I was 8, and he started smothering me whenever I made a sound. All I felt was terror. WTF. Same. She said I was wrong for not feeling pleasure and that, because it was my cousin, that I was just living the southern incest stereotype. This sounds like an incredibly inept therapist who was trying an intervention she wasn't qualified to do. There is actually a merit to talking about whether a survivor found the experience pleasurable in some way. That's when therapists are supposed to talk about the difference between automatic responses in our body and true consent, and that an 8-year-old can never consent. Just because your body exhibits signs of arousal or you may feel some physical pleasure does not in any way mean it wasn't abuse. Many clients feel tons of shame and confusion around whether or not they consented or were bad because of this. It's up to the therapist to talk them through understanding that abuse is abuse, no matter the automatic responses of our bodies, and that it is in no way their fault or their shame that their body responses that way. Ugh, I'm so sorry this happened to you. When they say things like okay, I understand how you are feeling, thank you for telling me, but proceeds to ignore most of the things I've said. Ugh, I hate that. Sympathy is not empathy. Rephrased, Based on what you've shared, I think I'm starting to understand what you have been through. Thank you for telling me. Now you said X. Would you like to explain that further so I can better understand? It's called motivational interviewing, and that specific technique is reflecting and clarification to ensure the client is able to fully explain their meaning without the provider assuming anything or ignoring the person's statements. I was dealing with a lot of family issues at the time, and my ex had just broken up with me that week, so I was taking it fairly hard. My therapist said it's because they found someone better, and when I said no and tried to explain, she just dug in deeper that my ex had dumped me because they found someone better than me. Wowza, like this is supposed to be therapy, not a roast. That my dad was in hell after committing suicide. I was 12. I ran out of there faster than anything. My uncle is a minister. He announced at an 18-years-old kid's funeral, he committed suicide after struggling for years with profound depression, but was dissuaded from seeing a psych or taking meds because they were from the devil and only given prayer counseling, and announced what a shame it was that the kid was burning in hell in front of the whole damn family. Edited to add because people keep asking, commenting. The parents weren't outraged because they shared the same beliefs. These parents are the ones who prevented their own son from getting medical help, and just sent him to prayer meetings instead of actual help. That's fucking awful. What kind of a person thinks that, let alone announces it at a funeral? Puke. Not me, but my late father, and I am still pissed off. My brother, his only son, had a nervous breakdown after our mother died. He was good, through and through. It was like losing two people at once. My father believed, sadly, that my brother would find his way home, but he never lived to see him again. We know he's alive out there. Now, I worked in a funeral home that assisted the coroner's office. If someone passes away, they can take the fingerprints to identify them. Bottom line is, there are many ways that they can identify a deceased person. My father was a trucker, blue-collar kinda guy. When he lost his leg, he lost his ability to work and he hated it. I am convinced he would have preferred to die in his truck. A provider. But, he was a good father and loved his children. The therapist asked why he was depressed and he said he misses his son. She said, you know, there's a good chance he's been dead for a while, yet you've continued to live. He was quiet when we got into the car and I knew something was wrong. Finally he told me. I called the therapist and asked her where the fuck she got off putting that idea in his head. The man had lost enough. He refused further counseling. Who could blame him? Man, so many of these replies just kill me as a provider. Giving this professional the benefit of the doubt, maybe they intended it more as even if your son may or may not be doing okay, the important thing is you are a survivor and have managed to get to where you are. And you appear to have some loving family members who are glad you are there for them and still here. Totally different type of focus. It addressed the ambiguity of not knowing while recognizing the dignity of a person who has survived extreme loss, and focuses on the future. Thank you for saying that. It's funny how as I got older I became his protector. The thought of him thinking his son is rotting away somewhere hurt so badly. At that time, I moved from Birdsk, a small city in the region, to Novosibirsk. In the new school, preventive conversations were held with a psychologist. All the children told about their dreams, hobbies and shared their views on life. I said that I love rock and would like to spend my youth traveling or working. Apparently, the psychologist was not impressed. In front of the whole class, she said, "Are you from Birdsk? That explains why you're so weird. Everything in your city is not of this world." Interpretation of an offensive phrase in Russian, hinting that you are crazy. A couple of years ago, my partner was trying to find a therapist. In the first few appointments, this woman told her that if she didn't start doing certain things, I'd burn out and leave her. I'd never spoken to this woman in my life and she knew nothing about me. My girlfriend never went back, after she struggled for a few weeks thinking it might be true before telling me what she said. That makes me so sad. Initially because your girlfriend had to handle that fear, and secondly because that was most likely that therapist's own experience. Frown. Good for you for being a steadfast partner. In high school I was pretty difficult because of some real intense shit happening in my life. I wasn't on drugs or violent or flunking out. However, I had a super rough family home life as well as some sexual assault stuff, and I withdrew because of it. My parents were very Sunday Christian, meaning while at church they were the best Christians, but the teachings did not make it home. They still don't understand why only one of their 6 kids talk to them, etc kinda thing. Anyway, they gave us no privacy ever, always in our phones, our bags, our rooms, just in every aspect of our life if it offered them control, and I knew it would be no different when they found me a counselor, and you know her. Guys, they sent me to therapy with the pastor's wife. It became super clear she was telling them things immediately, but I held out help until I couldn't anymore, because I didn't have proof really. I ended up telling her I got an offender bender, but there was no damage, so it was all good. Well, she told my parents right when I left, I guess because when I showed up home my dad demanded to see my bumpers. They won't admit what happened to this day, but they never made me go again. So there's that, at least. Also, I guess this turned out mostly about my parents, but fuck them and that counselor too.